You want to pull that shut, Joe? You guys let me know when you're ready.
We'll start with if you'd identify yourself, that would be.
My name is Joe Winkle, the Muncie Police Chief. We're here this morning to explain the arrest of Delaware County Sheriff's Deputy Jerry Parks last evening. The Muncie Narcotics Unit served a search warrant at his residence at 4306 North Glenwood. This was at the culmination of a 6-month narcotics investigation, not necessarily into Mr. Parks, but into some of his associates and family members. Last night we served that warrant. Mr. Parks was arrested along with his spouse, Bridget. Parks was charged with aiding, inducing, or causing dealing heroin, a level 2 felony. Charge 2 is aiding, inducing, or causing dealing marijuana, a level 6 felony. Charge 3 was attempted dealing marijuana, a level 5 felony. And charge 4 was neglect of dependent times 2, a level 6 felony. His spouse, Bridget Parks, was also charged with attempted dealing marijuana, level 5 felony. And charge 2 was neglect of dependent, a level 6 felony. Like I said earlier, this is at the end of an investigation. We believe Mr. Parks was part of this organization to some degree. We do not think this should reflect poorly on the Delaware County Sheriff's Department. This is one guy that we've got involved in this. There's no other pending charges and or suspicions of anyone else. If you'd like to speak about the charges or anything, this is Deputy Prosecutor Zach Craig. Or if you have any further questions of me that I can answer at this time. We're not going to get into the overall investigation today. That'd be another time, but we wanted to kind of put to rest for the public that Mr. Parks was arrested. That's what he was charged with, and we'll move forward from there.
Did I hear you say no other officers are under investigation?
That's correct.
Can you describe exactly, based upon the evidence that you're aware of and the investigation findings, exactly what was this sheriff's deputy doing?
I don't want to try to get into the specifics. It's in the probable cause affidavit, but he was, we believe, assisting and also part of a family drug ring. To the degree of that, that's part of the prosecutor's responsibility, but without a doubt, certainly enough to serve the search warrant and make the arrest, and we feel pretty confident in the prosecution.
Joe, at what stage did Deputy Parks become a target?
There was rumor of Deputy Parks maybe being involved with his family, Danny Terry and Derek Terry, who were also arrested at different times. But nothing really to substantiate that until the arrests were made of Danny Terry, and from that point on we were able to get enough to get the search warrant and serve the warrants on him.
Is he related to Danny Terry?
He is. I believe he's the uncle to Danny Terry.
When the search warrant was served last night, were his children home at the time?
They were. That's what is the neglect charges on both. I believe there were 2 children in the house at the time of the search warrant.
How long has he been a deputy?
16 years.
16 years.
You've devoted your life to law enforcement. This is a fellow law enforcement officer that you and your patrolman have stood shoulder to shoulder with. How much does this hurt?
Well, it's disappointing for law enforcement everywhere, and I feel extremely disappointed for the sheriff's office that they're having to deal with this. But the reality is, I had to deal with it once before with one of my people. It happens. It's disappointing, but the key to something like this, in my opinion, is you address it. You enforce the law, whether it's one of your people or not, and then you move forward, you move on.
Were there any other family members arrested? I mean, you have husband and wife, a nephew, Danny Terry, was he related to anyone else that was arrested as part of this investigation?
There was another brother that's involved, Derek Terry. He wasn't actually part of this particular arrest in the last few days, but also part of this group.
Was he arrested as well?
He's arrested about a week ago, I believe, on a separate charge.
Danny and Derek are brothers?
They are.
So you've got, this gets a little confusing.
It is confusing.
Okay, you've got Danny and Derek Terry arrested. They're his nephews.
That's correct.
He's arrested and his wife is arrested.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Does this have implications on any other cases that Parks has been on for the department?
That's something we're looking into. We don't know the answer to that right now. Obviously, we're going to, I believe the sheriff is going to look into some of the stops and a lot of the things that he's been involved in to see if there's anything there. But this is such an intricate thing. I mean, we don't have all the details about what the relationship was, what all he may have been involved in. We just had enough to make the arrest. We may never know exactly what his role was or was not in this organization.
The PC states he was accused of giving drugs that he seized as a deputy to this dealer. Do you know how that was possible?
I don't know if you want to get into that or not, Zach.
We can't really speculate as to how any crimes that may have been committed by Mr. Terry or by Mr. Parks were committed. That information that was contained in the probable cause affidavit came from one of the other individuals involved in this investigation. Which, of course, based on what was provided, that information provided, the statement that was given by Mr. Parks, will have to necessitate in further investigation to try to ascertain whether or not that information is truthful and able to be relied upon, and then whether it can be corroborated by other means.
Zach, can you explain aiding, inducing, or causing dealing of heroin? That is not necessarily a dealing charge, right?
It's not, by definition, a dealing charge itself. That is providing some sort of assistance in the dealing of heroin, though, providing some sort of aiding in some way, helping the individual that is actually carrying out the dealing, helping that individual be able to carry out the dealing of the drugs.
So based upon the evidence you have seen, based upon the allegations of the probable cause, when you put that all together, what exactly was this deputy doing? When you all put it together, what was he up to?
What was alleged in the probable cause affidavit, and granted, Mr. Parks is innocent until proven guilty, but what is alleged is that he was generally, over a substantial period of time, providing some sort of assistance or information to Mr. Terry and his organization that allowed them to carry out their operations of dealing narcotics and marijuana, and doing so in a way that may have helped them avoid detection and continue or further their enterprise.
And the help he was giving them, what did that amount to? What type of help, according to the probable cause and evidence? What type of assistance was he giving?
According to the probable cause affidavit, which is based on statements that we received, the assistance amounted to providing information about undercover narcotics officers, information about narcotics surveillance methods, location information about narcotics officers. It also amounted to, as alleged in the probable cause affidavit, providing a firearm to carry for so-called protection in the transferring of currency that was obtained while through the drug dealing process. So a number of different ways in which it's alleged. Also, I believe it was also alleged that he was at times would hold on to or take possession of narcotics in order to hold for safekeeping until a later time in which those narcotics could be moved on to another location. All of that, again, that's all provided in the and listed in the probable cause affidavit. And at this time, there are only allegations, but that's the information that was obtained during the investigation.
Do you believe Danny Terry is kind of the leader of this? I mean, there were 17 people arrested.
It's hard to say. I mean, we can't speculate as to the absolute hierarchy of this organization. What we can say, I think, is, when this investigation began, with all the law enforcement agencies that took part in it, Mr. Terry was, I think it's safe to say that he was the prime target, or at least the prime initial target in the investigation.
So, so you said that he would give information to these people about undercover narcotics officers and their kind of investigation methods. So, are current ongoing drug investigations compromised by him giving that information to those people?
We don't have any reason to believe that. I think maybe in the main concern with what's alleged in the probable cause affidavit may not be the hampering of a drug investigation so much as the endangering of other law enforcement officers' safety by providing certain information, if there was location information provided or information concerning how those officers were able to go for, how they moved around, what kind of vehicles or equipment they used, and that definitely stands a chance of putting those individuals in harm's way, which is definitely a main concern.
Was Deputy Parks ever involved in the drug task force?
I don't recall him being involved with the drug task force for the sheriff's department. I know for a substantial period of time he did have a canine officer with him, but yeah, I think it's been a while since he's had a canine officer with him as well. But I'm not aware of him being a member of their drug task force, at least for quite some time.
Do you know the undercover officers that he provided the identity to? Is that with Muncie Police and the Sheriff's Office?
I believe that was the information that was obtained, yes.
Is Mr. Terry still in custody?
He is not. He was arrested down in Indianapolis, I believe, on Sunday. This prior Sunday, he, I believe, bonded out after his arrest down there. He may have been placed on GPS condition as part of his bond, but I don't believe he is incarcerated at this point.
Your name, please, sir?
Zach Craig, Chief Administrative Deputy Prosecutor.
Is there reason to believe that with the information given and the charges that any of the other deputies or officers with either Muncie or the Sheriff's Department might have known about what Parks was doing?
I think the only information that we have, once officers became aware with the Muncie Police Department, we, the investigation kind of went that direction and included, kind of circled in on Mr. Parks' involvement in what was being investigated.
Just a protocol question. When a sheriff's deputy from that county is arrested, is it typical for that local police department to arrest them, or does an outside agency usually come in?
I don't think I could.
I'll speak to it.
Okay.
I don't know that there's a protocol for that. We were the investigative agency. We, as a professional courtesy, called the sheriff last night, brought him up, explained to him what we were doing. He was with us when the raid actually took place. But as far as protocol, I don't see the difference between us performing that search warrant and we're having someone from the state police come in. We serve all our own search warrants anyway, so it's kind of a standard thing, I think, from that standpoint.
Would you describe the arrest, and if the deputy made any comments, what were they?
He was interviewed last night, but he was, compliant during the raid, so there was no issues there.
Did he make any statements?
I wasn't here during the interview. I'm sure he talked to them, but we don't have anything that really stood out, I guess. Anything else? I think, go ahead.
You said you spoke to the sheriff last night. Can
Correct.
you describe what his reaction was, or
Well,
how
I mean,
when you told him?
I think his feelings were similar to ours. It makes you a little sick to the stomach to think that one of ours would be involved in something like this, but at the same time, I think he was thankful that it's been addressed, and they're going to be able to part ways with this guy. I think the chief deputy would like to speak for just a second.
Just one thing, Dave Spence, Chief Deputy, Delaware County Sheriff's Office. As soon as we get the facts and everything from the Muncie Police Department, we will work this through our internal processes, and we will look to do something with this as quickly as possible.
He is on administrative leave right now?
He is on administrative leave.
Is that paid or unpaid?
That is paid at this time.
What's the feeling among the sheriff's department? I've spoken to the sheriff before. I've been out when the Drug Intervention Task Force, or whatever name they have, is going out making raids. These people are putting their lives on the line daily, and by all indications, court documents and other allegations, one of their own was working against them.
It's disheartening. You know, for us, for the city guys, for all the small towns here, you know, we have a good image here in Delaware County, and for a guy to do this, it's just disheartening. It is.
Thank you very